They say you don't really know what you're made of until someone tries to take everything from you, and let me tell you, nothing quite tests your mettle like 15 years of sweatstone and stubborn hope, all almost wiped away with a forged document and a smug knock on your front door. It started with a stretch of dirt at the ragged edge of Nowhere Fall of 2006. 42 acres that nobody wanted, lined with wiry trees and dry grass, the kind of place where the quiet presses so hard against your ears you start to think you're hearing things. But that empty land was mine, signed, notarized, recorded at the county with every T crossed, and I dotted. I poured everything I had into it, years working as an infrastructure engineer, savings, retirement funds the IRS had best not ask about. People thought I was nuts for not just buying some house in the sprawl, but I wasn't about to spend my life boxed up in a prefab with paper-thin walls and a mailbox identical to everyone else on the block. I wanted something real. I wanted something that would outlast me. So I started building. No crew, just a few buddies, a contractor for the concrete, and an electrician when I got nervous about shocking myself, but mostly just me. Old pickup busted generator thermos of coffee, digging trenches, laying brick, screaming at the wind when it ripped the plans from my hands. Foundation first, then frame, then stone and mortar, no vinyl, no shortcuts. The roof pitched steep to shake off the snow. The septic sloped just so the solar array and batteries installed for the day, the grid decided to quit. Every inch of the place was mine, my labor, my design, my blood, quite literally, after a steel beam caught my shin in 2014. By year 8, folks quit asking when's it done and started with you off the grid out there. Not exactly just like knowing every wire and pipe in my house belonged to me, not some anonymous developer. Every inspection, every permit, every receipt, I wasn't about to give some bureaucrat a reason to sniff around. By 2021, it was all done, a stone-walled 2-story house with wide porches, arched windows, and the kind of handiwork that made strangers online insist I must have hired a whole crew. I didn't. Just patience, calloused hands, and a hard drive of time-lapse videos to prove it. I planted trees, built a workshop, landscaped an orchard, even dug a pond for bluegill. Started a little blog, got a handful of regulars who actually cared how an off-grid system works. Nearest neighbor was Miss Helen, a 70-something retired librarian who brought pies and tea, watched me build season after season, and could name every bird for a mile around. For 15 years, that land was all peace and quiet until it wasn't. Construction noises, faint at first, crept closer. Concrete curbs, logo signs, North Ridge Community, a gated living experience. Beige boxes with fake stone popped-up SUVs with out-of-state plates crawled past my drive. My patch of wild was being eaten up by the suburbs. Didn't bother me, I thought. My deed was ironclad old boundaries, not a whisper of HOA or community plan. County still listed me as unincorporated. I had nothing to fear, or so I thought. That's the funny thing about comfort, it makes you careless. It all changed one Saturday. Front steps half-stained when a white Lexus rolls up, and out steps a woman in a salmon blazer and shoes so white they could blind a man. She introduces herself as Karen Lawrence, president of Northridge HOA, grinning as if she'd rehearsed it in the mirror. She offers muffins, store-bought, wrapped in cellophane, and talks like she's welcoming me to the club. Except I never asked to join. I tell her I'm not in Northridge, never was, and I've got the deed to prove it. She just smiles, tells me we're all part of something bigger now. I don't take the muffins. She leaves them on the steps. A couple weeks later, here comes the official letter, gold seal thick packet, notice of inclusion, and covenant requirements. Apparently, my land has been absorbed by Northridge HOA per some regional development plan and consolidated easements. Now I owe them a $12,000 community impact fee, and my workshop fence, even my solar panels violate their precious standards. I almost choke laughing, but still I take it seriously. I scan everything, reply with every deed permit and a notarized county letter confirming I've never belonged to an HOA. A week after that, another letter lands, this time nastier. Claims I've failed to acknowledge community governance, so they're restricting access to common utility zones, namely the only road to my house. I've got 72 hours or else. They attach a map drawn in crayon by the looks of it, magically including my land in their boundaries. That evening, trucks arrive unloading temporary fencing at my driveway. A kid in a vest says it's a community restriction per court order. I know that docket number format fake as Monopoly money. I snap photos, call the sheriff, call my lawyer, and settle in for a sleepless night feeling the start of a war. The next day I call up Joe Tanner, old surveyor buddy tough as nails. He brings drones, tripods, his dog who tries to eat my compost, and together we walk my lines. The markers are still there, set in concrete, since before most of those HOA folks finished high school. Joe shakes his head, says, "They drew over your land like it was the Wild West." My lawyer, Catherine, meaner than a rattlesnake, says the HOA's order is not just invalid, but forged. Catherine sends cease and desist, the sheriff starts poking around, and my trail cam footage shows those same trucks taping up fake court orders. 2 days later, the sheriff swings by. He takes my report, collects the evidence, and tells me I'm stirring the hornet's nest. The fencing disappears overnight, but the HOA doesn't give up, they just switch tactics. That's when the real harassment starts. Mailbox tampered with anonymous notes warning me to comply or pay. Someone cuts my fence, disables my cameras by snipping the main cable. Professional job, no doubt about it. Good thing I had a backup system recording everything to a hidden server. Footage shows 2 men, one in boots, matching the HOA's hired contractors. Soon enough, I find SUVs idling outside my gate, guys in polos and shades claiming public access. I don't argue, just up my security, install more hidden cameras. They slap new violation notices on my door this time with a county officer's name, Arnold Vexler, a guy with a reputation for greased palms and fast-tracked permits. My lawyer starts digging. I check Facebook, see the HOA's smear campaign against me, rogue homeowner militia ties. You name it. Classic playbook, all lies, all anonymous. I try to set the record straight, get banned for my trouble. That night, I sit on the porch, bourbon in hand, dog asleep at my feet, watching people try to erase my life with paper and lies. Then the twist. Late one night, someone slides an envelope under my shop door. Inside, transaction records, bribes, payments from the HOA to shell companies, all tied back to Vexler and the developer Greg. A note I think you deserve to know. D. I send it to Catherine, drive the originals over. She's stunned. This is real evidence. 3 days later, Dennis, the nervous young HOA accountant, shows up, hands me a flash drive. Says Karen's the face, but Greg's the engine paying Vexler for redrawn maps, illegal permits, fake titles. My land is marked as a legacy holdout, targeted for bulldozing to build a dog park. Dennis copied what he could, financials, emails, contracts, some encrypted. He's risking everything because he saw the house I built and couldn't let them destroy it. With Dennis's evidence, Catherine files for an injunction. We give everything to the DA. That night, I lock up my drives, keep the shotgun by my side, loaded with rock salt, more warning than weapon. Dawn brings a final enforcement notice, fake eviction forged, seal Vexler's shaky signature. Trucks show up, men in boots and mirrored shades, acting tough, demanding I vacate. One heads for my workshop where I keep every original document. I call the sheriff, get voicemail, grab the shotgun, load it, and step outside. They threaten. I warn them. One tries the latch. I fire into the dirt. The sound cracks through the air, a clear line in the sand. Cameras rolling, witnesses watching. They back off, glowering, and drive away. Miss Helen films the whole thing. From her car, grins, says, "Nice shot." Deputies arrive late, collect my statement. The fake papers, Helen's footage. Next day, judge grants the restraining order, HOA barred from touching my land. Catherine wants more ironclad proof. Joe finds it forged notary stamps, expired IDs, digital signatures from a notary retired for years. The DA brings in an investigator, and Dennis delivers the HOA's full email archive. Plans for forced integration, bribes, removal of legacy holdout. We turn everything over to the state attorney general. The sheriff opens a criminal case. I keep my head down, wait. Helen sits with me on her porch, sips tea, says, "We all saw you build this," not letting them erase it. I start to believe we might actually win. Courtrooms packed, judge, jury. Karen stone-faced, her lawyers flailing. Greg already arrested Vexler under house arrest. Catherine presents everything, 15 years of photos, deeds, emails, payment trails. Even Helen testifies strong and clear. The judge sees right through the HOA's story, the jury too guilty on all counts. Karen gets 13 years, Greg 12, Vexler 3, and a ruined life. My land. Quiet title unbreakable. The HOA's dissolved assets seized. Homeowners relieved they were victims too. And when the dust settles, I'm back on my porch staining the railing. Helen brings muffins and a newspaper front page. Homeowner defeats corrupt HOA. I smile. 15 years building, and only now do folks understand what it meant. A month later, I hold a barbecue for the real neighbors. We raise a flag, share stories, stand together in the place I built by hand, tree by tree, stone by stone. The house stands, the shotguns locked away, but the sign on the gate stays private property. Trespassers will be educated. There's something you learn when you build from nothing and have to defend it with everything. Sometimes justice is slow, sometimes it hurts, but when it comes, it's worth every scar. Makes you wonder, though, at what point does standing your ground cross the line? When is it about principle, and when is it just plain stubbornness? I'd like to hear your thoughts. Maybe you've fought your own battle. Drop a comment. Share your story. Tell me, where's the line for you between justice and revenge?